Alright, so for a while I've been meaning to do a video on some things to do and prepare for in case of a non-medical emergency with one of your reptiles or amphibians. And a lot of these things can be applied to birds and small furry animals like your hamsters and ferrets and rabbits and things as well. So basically anything that lives in a cage, you can probably edit these for such emergencies. Now, what do I mean by a non-medical emergency? Well, mostly we're talking about some kind of mechanical failure. So it could be as simple as one of your heating units for one of your reptile cages, it just breaks, it goes out, it no longer works. Obviously, a very simple fix for this is just to keep extra ones on hand. However, some other things that you can do is, aside from keeping just extra heating units on hand, I have extra heat lamps, I have extra heat mats on hand. I keep these nifty little instant heat up, like hot hands things. You just shake them, they're air activated, and they provide heat for 10 hours. And what you're going to do, these obviously you can't just throw them on your cage and heat it. What you would do is you'd actually want to take your reptiles, you'd want to put them in some type of travel container or travel tote. I try and keep everything that my animals come in, but I have lots of carriers up underneath here, shoe boxes, actual like critter keepers under here. But you should try and keep the containers, the original containers that you got most of your animals in from the pet store. But you would put your animal in its actual travel container, and then you would want to put it into either like some kind of cooler, just like foam cheap cooler box, an actual like cooler chest freezer, or some kind of just some kind of cardboard, actual like cardboard carrier crate. You want to put in your containers of appropriate, whatever size you need, make your thing. Stack up your containers in there. And then you'd want to take out one of these hot hands, shake it to activate it, wrap it in either a piece of paper towel or newspaper, and then set it in along the side of this carrier and put your lid on. And that's going to actually heat up, and the carrier is going to trap the heat in there and actually create like a nice little micro environment to keep everybody warm enough that they can survive. Make sure that this hot hands heater is actually not, again, directly touching one of your containers, because it can overheat that particular container and fry your reptile to death. Aside from those, I also keep this is just a human electric heating pad on hand. You can find these used all over the place, and they're a very good size, and they're not supposed to be on, they're not designed to be on for continuous use like a reptile heat mat, but it's something that you can plug in, and you can just leave on for, just keep it on during the night, or keep it on for, up to 24 hours or so continuously, just until you can get, your replacement bulb, your lamp, or another heat pad for whatever it is that broke. So they're good to keep on hand. You can find them cheap all over the place, yard sales and whatnot. So they're a very cheap piece of equipment to have on hand, and like I said, they're really large. So this would be fine even for like a 55 gallon tank, or even like a 100-gallon tank. You put the whole thing under there, and a full-grown boa is going to be able to get on that hot spot to keep warm and to digest until you can get a new proper actual reptile heat mat or heat lamp or whatever it is you use to keep them warm, and to permanently fix the problem. So it's a really good temporary fix that's large enough for anything that you need, really. But these will work too. It's only 10 hours, so it's still, the hot hands are only a short fix, short temporary fix. You can get hot hands. You can get heat pats that actually last for 72 hours, which is a 3-day span. So you might even want to get some of the ones that last longer, keep those on hand, or you're going to have to keep switching out the 10-hour ones, whatever. Now, another mechanical failure, aside from your actual heating unit for your tank going out, would be having your heater, if your actual heater in your reptile room, whether it's the base heating in your house or you use a space heater to heat your room, whatever it is, your actual overall heating for your house or your room goes out. It breaks. I mean, there is no heat in the house, or no heat in your reptile room, at least in that room. You can use, like I said, you can throw on the spare heat lamps, the spare heat mats. You can move them to carrier cups in a box with the hot hands to keep them warm. You can use all those same techniques I just talked about for warming them up. Now, the flip side. It's a fun one. Now, the flip side to this, obviously, would be during the summer. Your cooling unit breaks. You know, for the majority of your reptiles, not a big deal. Not a big deal. So for the majority of your reptiles, all you're going to want to do is keep an eye on your house. Most heat mats say that if your overall house temperature, the overall ambient air temperature of your cage, the overall ambient air, the overall air temperature in your cage reaches 90 or above, shut off the heat mat. Shut off the heat mat, shut off the heat pad, whatever. Shut off the heating unit. Because if you go much higher, even for an animal that likes it very warm, if you're not there to watch it, like 24/7, you could very easily fry your reptile. So if your cooling unit, which is what I'm experiencing right now, malfunctions or breaks, like your air conditioner, whatever you're keeping your house cooled with in the summer, breaks or malfunctions, shut off your heat mats. As soon as your house hits around, like the low 90s, shut them off. Shut off the heat mats almost for no matter what you have. Obviously, your exception would be your tropical, a lot of your tropical and a lot of your desert species that require a hot spot of like 95 to 110. Obviously, you can leave their heat mats on until your house is a little warmer But again, remember, you're adding heat to a cage where your ambient air temperature is already very hot. So you're heating up a confined space, and you can very easily bake your reptile. So it's very important. Now, for your reptiles that actually need a cooler environment, such as, I want to say like your temperate, but that's not even quite right. So something that needs a cooler, something that you normally don't put a heat pad on at all, such as crested geckos and a lot of frogs that live at a room temperature between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and in the high 70 degrees Fahrenheit. A lot of those animals, when your temperatures hit 85, it's fatal to them. So if your cooling unit that you keep your house cool with to keep it comfortable for them goes out, you've got a big problem. I mean, there's no heating unit to shut off. You have to cool them down. And like I said, I'm waiting for a technician to come fix our air conditioner right now. So I can show you some of the things that I am doing. All right. So I'm going to take you over. Sorry, I'm letting you see the floor, guys. My crested gecko is a perfect example. Crested geckos are a very popular pet. Your crested geckos, gargoyle geckos, a lot of your conch species, they live between 68 and 78 degrees, and 85 degrees Fahrenheit for any extended period of time is fatal. Absolutely fatal. So you could do the reverse of the hot hands treatment that I said, which would be to take out your amphibians, your geckos, whatever it is that you need to actually cool down, because they pretty much need a very mild temperature. Take them out, stick them in their carrier or their cups, you know, like their little travel cups or whatever you have they came home with from the pet store. Again, I keep these. I keep like all these containers that I get these animals in, and keep a lot of critter keepers and jars on hand. When I take them out, stick them in whatever their little carrier cup is, and then again, you want to stick all of those cups, stack them up in an El Cheapo foam cooler, an actual cooler, you know, some kind of cardboard box. It doesn't even have to be a nice little carrier. It can just be a regular old freaking cardboard box of something laying around. Stack up your containers, and then take something from your freezer. I say freezer specifically. Something from your freezer. Okay? Could be a pack of hot dogs, pack of sausages, something that it's very frozen. Yeah, a pack of hot dogs or something that's very frozen. Could be a pack of like frozen vegetables or frozen fruit. That works very well. Even these things, like they're like frozen, prepackaged frozen things of meat. What I actually do is, they're not in here right now, but I keep actual like little, you know, little gel like freezer, like actual cold packs for putting on injuries and stuff. Actual gel cold packs like this. You could get smaller ones and whatnot. Again, take it, wrap it up in a piece of newspaper or paper towel, and put it in that container where all your cups are. Again, not directly touching one of the cups, so you don't freeze that particular animal in that exact cup to death. But put it in there, put your lid on, close it up, and it's going to basically create like a mild refrigerated environment. It's not going to be as cold as a refrigerator in there, obviously, because the outside of it's really warm. But it's going to keep that entire interior cooled down and keep everything in that container to a cooler, more mild temperature that is safe for them and isn't going to kill them. Is it going to be the best temperature for them? Might be on a little chilly side? Yes. But with a lot of these animals that need the more mild temperature, a cooler temperature, like a too cold temperature for a longer period of time, is safer than a too hot temperature for too long of a time. So it's better to have them a little on the cool side than too hot. They'll just kind of go into hibernating mode until you wake them up, which is fine for them. And that's, I don't know how long the freezer packs are going to work. You can get packs like the hot hands that are cold packs that are, oh, here they are. They're just chemical instant cold packs, and they just activate in the air like the hot hands, only they get cold, not hot. And you can use these instead of like something from your freezer. Keep these on hand. This particular one, it's a real cheap one, says it only lasts for I think like 4 to 6 hours or whatever, so it's only a short fix. But you can get ones that, again, last for 72 hours. You can find ones that last 72 hours. Usually any place that sells reptile supplies will carry the 72-hour cold packs and the 72-hour hot packs that you can buy. Just throw them in a drawer and keep them for an emergency. And then if you decide, to breed and sell any babies or sell one of your reptiles and you're shipping it, you already have shipping supplies, because the 72-hour cold packs and the 72-hour hot packs are what breeders use to ship their animals during weather that's not exactly the greatest. But it's perfectly safe to do that way for them. What I'm doing right now, because my temperature's not too bad, we were holding steady at 81. Probably can't see that because of the glare in my camera, but it just went up to 83. It's really warm. I think I'm going to have to about take them out soon and throw them in the cool pack thing I was saying. But I actually took ice cubes. These are like the gel ice cubes, reusable ice cubes. I'm setting some on top of the tanks at one place. That's going to create cool water across the top and create a cool air to kind of get pushed down into the cage. And then I have my gel cool pack here from the freezer actually laid along the side of the cage and put something against it to hold it in place. So it's basically, I'm creating a cool spot, a cold spot, instead of a hot spot. It's the reverse of a reptile heating pad. So it's exact reverse. I'm putting the gel ice pack, cold pack, whatever you want to call it, along the cage to create a cold spot rather than having the hot spot. So it's just the direct opposite. Holding it in place. Again, it doesn't have to be one of those. You can use, you know, various different types of them. You can use frozen bag of veggies if that's what you have. Over here, I'm using a pack of hot dogs. Frozen pack of hot dogs set up across the cage just to create a cool spot. So you can use whatever you have. Get one. You can, the bags of veggies and the actual gel packs, you can actually slip underneath like an actual edge of the cage, so you're heating from the floor up instead of from the side up. So that's nice. You can't, it's hard to do that with a big pack of hot dogs or whatever, but you know, so keep freezer packs on hand. You can even get the really hard, like blue ones that are, you screw them into the top of lunch boxes or you know, like party coolers or whatever. You can use those. Really, anything, think out of the box, just so long as you have something in case you need it. Again, I have ice cubes on the top of this cage. You can see they're melting very fast. And something like this, where you're aquatic, I know with my actual aquarium, my tropical aquarium, and my goldfish and everything during the summer, if it got really, really hot, and the cooling unit wasn't doing, we actually took actual, you know, ice cubes. We had water ice cubes just frozen in the freezer, popped them out of our ice cream tray, and we threw some of them right into the water to bring the temperature down to the 75, and we had like one of those thermometers stuck to the edge, to the outside glass of my aquarium as a kid, and we would just put ice cubes in until it brought it down to the right temperature. We actually took it a little low because we knew it would get hot again. You can do the same thing with your turtles and your aquatic frogs, but you got to be careful of your temperature. Get just a floating aquarium thermometer that you can just kind of stick in there, and it suction cups to the glass to check your temperature, you know, and have it in there when you need it. That's fine. That's not a problem at all. So that's just some things for you to do to keep them cool, really, anything at all. I would also, like with all my other animals, you know, take some water, just frozen water ice cubes, pop them in their water dishes, get as cold of water as you can out of your tap or out of the spigot or whatever. Tap water, I know it's not dechlorinated, throw it in there, the coldest water you can get, so they have like a cool place they can go soak in it to cool down their body temperature. You're just trying to create a cool place for them to go to cool down their body temperature if they get too warm. This is only temporary solutions for different things. Again, I said already, you can turn off the heat pads or whatever if your over air gets too hot for even your warm animals. So that's just a bunch of things you can do in the case of air conditioning failure if it gets too cold. And as far as any other emergencies you might have like non-mechanical things break, like you might have bowls that break, hides that break. You might drop one of your aquariums and shatter it or whatever when you're cleaning it. So for things like that, I keep tubs. These are just regular old Rubbermaids I keep on hand, and like spare small plastic cages, aquariums or whatever. So if you break a cage, you can just quickly poke some holes, you know, heat up a clothes hanger and poke some holes through a Tupperware container, throw on the lid, put on some of the metal like binder clamps for thick stacks of paper to hold your animal in there, and you can throw them in there and just set it on your heat pad or whatever for the time being until you can run out and you can buy them a new appropriate sized cage. For replacing hides and bowls, I pick up bowls secondhand. I pick up glassware and stone crock and whatnot from the dollar store, and ones that look they've never been used at thrift shops, clean them out real good. So if I bust a bowl, I have another bowl I can grab and throw in there. I keep plastic bowls on hand that if I break a hide, I can just cut a hole in a plastic bowl, turn it upside down, throw it in there. It's a hide box. I keep egg carton on hand too. Just throw some egg carton in there as a hide if you break something and need something temporarily for them. But I usually pick up a lot of used hides and plants and dishes, so I always have extra somewhere if I need it, heaven forbid. So I think that's mostly covers some of the most common non-medical emergencies that you may have with your reptiles and amphibians. Like I said, you can apply a lot of these to your furry animals. You know, put ice cubes in their water bottles or their water dish to cool them off. Put a fan, you know, bring a fan into that room that, you know, blow it that it's not quite directly on the cage, but you know, like aside the cage, so there's at least some airflow in that room. We opened up our back door and all our windows to get some airflow in here to cool everything off for everybody, including the cats and ourselves. And like I said, this really takes a lot of temperature watching. So keep some thermometers. I have one of these. It's an electronic infrared thermometer. I can just point and shoot in the cage and find out what the surface temperature is at any place. And if it gets too warm, I can turn off the heat mats or move